Welcome to another of our GST titled Philosophy and Logic. This material is from National Open University of Nigeria. My name is Dan Asukwo, your instructor. Are you writing any of the GSTs soon, or you want to improve your knowledge on philosophy and logic? If so, let us know on the comment section so that we can help you out. If you are a noun student or from any other universities, this will be very useful for you. Please do well to share it with others as well as on your study groups. If this is your first time of coming across our videos, why not do well to subscribe, like, comment, and share for others too to benefit. Unit 4, Definitions, Part 2, 1.0. Introduction. This study unit is the continuation of the preceding one. It introduces you to three major types of definitions. 2.0. Intended learning outcome. By the end of this unit, you will be able to solve daily challenges in communication using stipulative, recursive, persuasive, precising, genus, and difference definitions. 3.0. Main content. 3.1. Stipulative definition. As a writer or speaker, you are free either to introduce a new word into language or to give a word a new meaning. Once you do that, you are stipulating. A stipulative definition, therefore, is one that a term, whether new or existing, is given a new meaning for the purpose of argument or discussion in a given context. Uduma, 2015. A major feature of this definition is that it freely assigns meaning to a completely new term, creating a usage that had never been in existence. It specifies or stipulates the meaning of a word or phrase. The goal of this definition is to propose the adoption of shared use of a novel term that has no existing standard it can be compared with, and the definition stands correct, always except it turns out to be useless or inapt. For instance, it is on record that until the year 2000, the word double dodge had no generally accepted meaning. Double dodge means the anticipatory movements people commonly make when they nearly collide with some person, as when walking toward each other in a confined space, and are trying to avoid such collision. Layman, 2098. For instance, Rebecca and Eduardo nearly ran into each other in the hallway, but at the last moment they double dodged and then came to a full stop, whereupon Rebecca burst into laughter. Thus, even though the double dodge is stipulated here, we still understand the full meaning of the above expression. Always keep in mind that any stipulative definition is a recommendation or proposal to use a term in a certain manner, and the meaning or definition that may be given to a new or currently existing term may but not necessarily contradict the lexical definition of the term. That is why, as a recommendation or proposal, a stipulative definition is neither true nor false, accurate or inaccurate, correct or incorrect. This is responsible for the differences between this form of definition and lexical definition. A stipulative definition is a form of proposal or resolution to use the term to mean whatever it is used for. In those regard, a stipulative definition is directive and not informative. 3.2. Recursive definitions. This definition is sometimes referred to as inductive definition. It is a form of definition that defines a word in terms of itself, although in a useful way. Recursive definition consists of three steps. 1. At least one thing is stated to be a member of the set being defined. This is sometimes called a base set. 2. All things bearing a certain relation to other members of the set are also to count as members of the set. It is this step that makes the definition recursive. 3. All other things are excluded from the set. For example, a natural number can be defined as follows, after piano. 1. 0 is a natural number. 2. Each natural number has a distinct successor, such that the successor of a natural number is also a natural number, and no natural number is succeeded by 0. 3. Nothing else is a number. Here 0 will have exactly one successor, which for convenience we call 1. In turn, 1 will have exactly one successor, which we would call 2, and so on. You will notice that the second condition in the definition itself refers to natural numbers, and hence involves self-reference. Although this kind of definition involves a form of circularity, it is vicious, and definitions is quite successful. 3.2. Persuasive definition. Whenever a definition attempt to attach emotive meaning to the use of term, and thereby confuse the literal meaning of the term, Such definition is said to be persuasive. In other words, a persuasive definition is one that has its term defined in such a way as to be an argument for a position. It is deceptive in that it has the surface of a dictionary definition. This is what makes persuasive definition to be different from lexical definition. Lexical definition aims to be neutral to all usages. Persuasive definitions are usually formulated to influence the attitude, excite, or stir the emotion of its hearers or readers. It is on this ground that a persuasive definition is always rejected, as it is often considered to be fallacious. This form of definitions is common in politics, sex, and religion. An example of this definition is found in Ambrose Bierce in the Devil's Dictionary, when he defines heathen as a benighted creature who has the folly to worship something that can see and feel. According to Uduma, a lexical definition of would be couched as one who does not believe in the Christian God, or one who does not follow an established religion. What Bierce was defining was an attempt to present as foolish those who believe in what cannot be seen or feel in other, that he might make a case for the heathens. 3.3. Precising definition. Precising definition is a form of definition that is used in contexts where the vagueness of a word, term, proposition is unacceptable. It is developed to take care of the ambiguity or vagueness that some other forms of definitions, particularly stipulative and lexical definitions, may give up on. This definition extends the lexical of a term for specific purpose by including additional criteria that narrow down the set of things meeting the definition. This sort of definition begins with the lexical definition of a term, but then proposed to sharpen it by stipulating more narrow limits on its use. In this regard, precising definition combined two techniques to arrive at its form of definition. That is, the techniques of the lexical and stipulative definitions. This is done to reduce vagueness of a word or phrase. To this effect, persuasive definition is seen as a form of stipulative definition, which attempt to describe the true or commonly accepted meaning of a term, while stipulating an alter use, perhaps as an argument for some specific views. See C.L. Stevenson as quoted by Uduma, 2015. But then the lexical part must be correct, and the stipulative portion should appropriately reduce the vagueness. We need not to confuse the precising definitions combining the lexical and stipulative techniques for its use to mean that it is the same with the latter two. Precising definition differs from both lexical and stipulative definitions. One point of difference is that while stipulative definition freely assigns new meaning to a completely new or currently existing term, creating a usage that have never previously existed, that which is to be defined, definiendum. A precising definition is not a new term, but one whose usage is established, although vague. Precising definition does not in any way freely assign any meaning to its definiendum. They must remain true to established usage. However, precising definition must go beyond established usage if the vagueness of the definiendum is to be reduced. For example, a dictionary may define the term student as anyone attending an educational institution of any type or someone who studies something. However, a traveling agency or movie theater may propose a precising definition for the word student of any person under the age of 18 enrolled in a local school for them to determine who is eligible to receive rebate or discounted tickets. 3.3. Definition by genus and difference. The method of definition by genus and difference is very important in language and logic. Indeed, it is known as one of the best ways to reduce ambiguity and vagueness. The definition by genus and difference also encompasses some other methods of definition such as stipulative, precising or real, theoretical, and lexical definitions. It is a kind of definition in which a word or concept that indicate a specific type of item is described first by a category, genus, then distinguished from other items in that category by differential. The differentiae of a species are the species properties that other members of the genus do not have. In short, the genus is the broad category. The species is a type within that category, and the differentiae are the distinguishing characteristics of the species. The words definiendum and definiens are two key words you must master before you can understand the method of definition by genus and difference. The definiendum stands for the word being defined, while the definiens is the word or words that do the defining. You also need some clarifications concerning proper subclass, genus, species, and difference. For a class X to be a proper subclass of another class Y, every member of class X must be a member of class Y. For example, the class of collies is a proper subclass of dogs. For the above explanation, it is clear that the species is simply a proper subclass of the genus dog. You should also note that the way these terms are used here is different from the use they are given in biology. In logic, the difference is the attribute that distinguishes the members of a given species from the members of other species in the same genus. Layman 2101. The process of constructing a definition by genus and difference is as follows. 1. Choose a term that is more general than the term to be defined and name its genus. 2. Find a word or phrase that identifies the attribute that distinguishes the species in question from other species in the same genus. In constructing this kind of definition, we begin by identifying a familiar broad category or kind, the genus, to which everything our term signifies, along with things of other sorts, belongs. Then we specify the distinctive features, the differentiae, that set them apart from all other things of this kind. For instance, if we are to define the phrase human being following the ancient Greek viewpoint, we shall say that human beings are members of a species. So we ask what the genus or general category of species is. We would say that the genus is animal. The genus then is animal and the species is human being. What is the differentia of the species, that is, the distinguished characteristics, that is, properties that human beings have that other animals do not have? From the ancient Greek view, it is rationality. The things that humans have that other animals do not have is rationality. So, rationality is the differentia of the human species, according to the ancient Greeks. Thus, Aristotle said man is the rational animal. By this he meant to be giving a definition of man or human being. The point we should note is that thus definition is used to categorize different plants, animals, and other things into biological categories. But then its use is not restricted to science. The idea behind this definition is the natural thing to do if we are to explain the meaning of a word to someone. According to Uduma 2015, there are at least six criteria we need for this method of definition by genus and difference to be adequate. Criterion 1. Avoid circularity. A circular definition uses the term being as part of its own definition. It cannot provide any useful information. When this rule broken, the situation will be of two folds. It is either audience already understood the meaning of the term, or it cannot understand the explanation that includes that term, which eventually defeat the purpose of the explanation. For instance, if the term bachelor is defined as an unmarried man, or metaphysics is defined as systematic study of metaphysical issues, such definition offers no information. Criterion 2. Focus on essential features. A good definition must state enough essential characteristics so that through them the term tries to point out the features that are essential to the designation of things as members of the relevant group. In other words, a definition must not mention trivial characteristics. Criterion 3. Capture the correct extension. The definition must apply to the same thing as the term being defined. It must neither be too broad nor too narrow. For instance, when a bird is defined as warm-blooded animal, this definition is too broad as it has included all the other animals that are not birds. Or when it is defined as feathered, egg-laying animal. This is also too narrow as the male birds have been excluded. When it is defined as small flying animal, this is too broad and too narrow. It is too broad because it has included bat, which is not a bird, and too narrow because it has excluded ostriches. Criterion 4. Definitions should avoid figurative or obscure language. A definition is meant to explain the meaning of a term to someone who is not familiar with its proper application. Thus, language that does not help such a person learn how to apply the term should be avoided. Otherwise, the purpose of the definition is defeated. Criterion 5. Definition should be affirmative rather than negative. Definition is not expected to be negative where it can be positive. It is what a term is not, when of course what is meant to achieve is to make what the term is known to the audience. Criterion 6. Avoid definition by example. Since examples are by themselves not enough to define a term, it should be avoided. The only time this may not matter could be when the audience already have some larger or context of the term. 4.0. Conclusion. We have some other forms of definitions in this unit. However, it is important to note their limitations to definition in language. This is because English language contains finite number of words. Thus, any comprehensive list of definitions must either be circular or leave some terms undefined. Especially if every term of every definition must be defined, this process will have to continue ad infinitum. As a matter of fact, there are some terms that cannot be defined, for example, generalisma, unity, and so on. This is because we cannot assign any higher genus under which they may fall. However, to avoid this, some philosophers have argued for us to leave some terms undefined. For instance, Wittgenstein rejected the very idea that every explanation of the meaning of a term needed itself to be explained. To him, there is no need to support an explanation with another explanation. John Locke, on the other hand, simply conclude that we cannot define individuals. This is because names are learned by connecting an idea with sound, so that speaker and hearer have the same idea when the word is used. This to him is not possible when no one else is acquainted with the particular things that has fallen under our notice. All these positions point to the limitations that are inherent in definitions.